Hi everyone! Well, today, 7 years late, or 7 days late, is our very first video for the John 3800 channel in the 2017 year. So, I hope everyone is having a great new year so far. So far for me, has not been the greatest. 2 days ago, I found one of my guinea pigs passed away, Leah, the short-haired one, and I just lost hope. And I was really upset, and I didn't feel like making videos. I really feel bad for Haley now that she only has no companion, but I think in a few days I'm going to check on her and maybe get a companion for her. It's sad to lose a pet, so yeah, so that's why I haven't been making any videos. So I did promise 2 videos way before Christmas that I was supposed to make a Mythbuster video and the Rehouse video for the Ornithoctonus. So guys, I'm going to entertain you with a Mythbuster video, a series that I started around 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, and basically is an A to Z in-depth look at the species of interest. So now that I've accumulated a lot of specimens over the past 6 years, there's still some that I haven't done yet, but today we are going to be starting, and hopefully we'll be seeing some more Mythbuster videos in the near future. Okay, so let's get started. So today's Mythbuster video is we're going to touch on the Ornithoctonus aureotibilas, which is the Thailand gold fringe or the Thailand orange fringe, whatever common name suits you the best. So I have on my blackboard everything you need to know about it. Like, we're going to start about the common name, the scientific name, its pronunciation, the price and availability. So guys, be sure to check the video description. I'm going to write a list of known online dealers where you can buy tarantulas, and this will be in every Mythbuster video that I do. We'll talk about how big do they get as males and females, how long do they live for, talk about the care requirements, which isn't too hard, show you up a typical setup enclosure for the or-nith-octo-nus, go through temperament, then breeding and overall recommendations. Is this a perfect tarantula that I recommend to a new beginner, yes or no? Alright, so now that we know what the common name is, now let's look at the scientific name and how we pronounce it. So, here we go guys. Ornithoctonus aureotibilas. So how we pronounce it as ornith-octo, meaning 8, nus, oreo, like in the cookies, tib-ee-al-is. And it's very interesting, this aureotibilas name. This is actually the Latin name for gold fringe, because females of the species have gold fringe on their tibial legs, shown on the first 2 pairs. So let's give you an example. I'm on Tarantula Canada's website. I'll be linking all these links to the video description, and you'll see what they look like up close. Since my specimen is hiding and you really won't get to see it much, but my specimen looks very similar to this, and it is a confirmed female, but only 2 inches. So this is what female tib-ee-al-is look like. They've been discovered by Von Werth and Stifler in 2005. So it's been in the hobby for the past, I would say, good 10-11 years now. So you can definitely make out the gold fringe between the first 2 pairs of legs. So it would have a fringe here, a fringe here, a fringe here, and a fringe here. All the rest are completely black, and as typical of the former Haplopelma or Cerugopithecus species now, they have some markings on the abdomen. So this is what a mature female looks like. Females generally live around 10 to 15 years, as typical for Asian species. Now you see what the female looks like. Whoop. There we go. This is the mature male Ornithoctonus aureotibilas. You can see
it looks completely different compared to the female. And this, my friends, is called sexual dimorphism, where the same species on opposite sex looks completely different. So one thing that we can note is that the male has lost completely all of the black colors, and all of the legs, instead of having the two gold fringes on the first two pairs of legs, are completely gone and replaced by whole brown orange knees, like a rusty brown color. So how long do they live? Well, like I said before, females will live around 10 to 15 years, and mature males will live around, well, males typically will live around 3 to 4 years. So after they mature, or-tib-ee-al-is will probably live out to 1 to 2 years max, which is typical lifespan for most mature males. But you do have some anomalies like pokies that will live up to about 2.5 years, or even Theraphosa males, which can really live a long time. So let's have a look at my specimen, and I'll talk to you about the prices, availability, the sizes. So as females, they're pretty much going to be the same size as a cobalt blue. 5 to 5.5 inches is the max. Some wild-caught specimens are known to getting a 6-inch leg span. So they're a medium-sized tarantula. They're not a large species like Theraphosa, which get up to 10 to 11 inches. Some of them maybe 12. For a male, probably around 3.5 to about 4.5, depending on the individual specimen. Just so you know that males will always be smaller than the females. So this is my specimen, as you can see. Yeah, she's hiding, which is typical.
Alright guys, now for the availability and prices. Can this spider be easily found, and how much do they go for? Now, Ornithoctonus aureotibilas, I wouldn't say that they're ultra rare like the Therapement psychedelicus, but they're definitely a very uncommon tarantula to find. Not as common as the cobalt blue. And they really should be very common because it's a really, really gorgeous species to have. So, on the video description, I'm going to be linking to several dealers that I know of that have tarantulas for sale. Not specifically this one, but I'll put in Canada's, I know the three only ones that they have in Canada. There's ones from the US that I'll label, some from UK, and very few that I know in Europe. But if you guys want to tell me about dealers there that do not appear on the video description, please guys send me a link to them on your comments section below, and I'm going to be putting it onto the video description. So more, if we help out each other, guys, we'll get some news. Okay, so availability and price. We have to ask ourselves, is Ornithoctonus aureotibilas a good tarantula to keep, and how much do they go for, and can we find it very easily? So to answer that question, Ornithoctonus aureotibilas, it's a tough question. I would say they're not totally rare species, but they're definitely not as common as the cobalt blue. So, granted, they're not very expensive to get as a mature female. Spiderlings you can probably get for about $25 to $35 Canadian for one. If it were a wild-caught female, like Tarantula Canada has about like 1 or 2 left, they're about $95. And if it were a captive bred spider, then $125 to $150 would be a fair price for one. Now keep in mind, guys, I'm in Canada, so that's why I'm quoting Canada prices. So I know definitely like US are a little bit cheaper, and they're in Europe, specifically in Germany and Poland, they're way cheaper. Now, the thing is why we're expensive, because dealers like Tarantula Canada buy from Europe, and of course they have to have a license to buy from Europe. Then they have to get a shipping company to ship them over to here, and of course they get taxed with duty fees and import fees, and when they resell it, they have to try to make some money off of it, and that's why they're a little bit more expensive. So I don't mind. I do want to support the sale of captive bred. So guys, look in the video description. I'm going to be putting on all the online dealers that I know of for Canada, US, UK, and Europe. Please guys, if you see any dealers that I did not mention, post me a link on the comment section below. I'm going to put it up on the video description. If we help each other out, we'll do great. So let's see, I talked about the sizes. Remember, 5.5 inches for females, 4.5 inches max for mature males. Lifespan 10 to 15 years is females. Males around 3 to 4 if you feed them weekly. If you feed them like I do monthly, it'll be a little bit longer. Yeah, enclosure setup. Yes, this is something that I want to talk about. So if you guys have kept a cobalt blue and know how to care for it, then pretty much this video will be old hat for you, because the care video is going to be identical to this one, but it will be kind of a refresher for you guys, since I haven't done a cobalt blue care sheet since 2011. So that's about 5 years ago, or more than 5 years ago. Yeah. So if you bought a spiderling, you probably bought around $25 to $35 for one. The best enclosure I can recommend is pill vials or small deli cups. So this is a typical enclosure that I use for spiderlings. These are pill vials that I fill halfway through with substrate. I recommend Eco Earth, you know, the ones that come into the brick, or inorganic potting soil, ones that have very low grade fertilizer. So you want to mix it about halfway, make some air holes, but make them small enough so that way the spider doesn't escape. If it's a 1/2 inch spider, you want to make around 1/4 inch size air holes. If you make them 1/2 inch, chances are your spider is going to escape and you're not going to know where it went. So yeah, pretty much keep them humid. So the way I do it for humidity is I take my eyedropper and I pour enough water so that little droplets of water hit the bottom layer of the substrate. I don't like to mist, because not only does it upset the spider and you're going to have more prones to escaping, but it also retains humidity much more longer. And humidity is really key for the species, since they come from the rainforests of Thailand, where the rainy season is from May to November. So they need to have at least 80% to 90% humidity for those months. So pretty much I mist them like I soak the substrate like I mentioned, and pretty much that's it. And then make sure you have some nice ventilation holes, so that way you don't want them to get too stagnant. If you get too stagnant air, unfortunately this is going to do you more harm than good, and it's going to attract mites. So I want to thank everyone who commented on my feeding video that they noticed some mites on my Tarantula sazame tank, and I want to thank everyone who mentioned that. I rectified that immediately. Basically, if I see mites, I completely get rid of the substrate, or now that it's winter here, where tomorrow is going to be -7 degrees Fahrenheit, I put it outside to kill them. Throw out the substrate anyway, start new, and making sure that all the decor that I use is sterilized. Now, for a juvenile, a beast, let's say around 1.5 to about 2.5 inches. The best enclosures I can recommend is either using deli cups or those 2-liter shoebox enclosures. So this is the enclosure that I have my female currently. And just so you know, guys, this is temporary. When you're going to see the spider grow, I'm going to rehouse it. So pretty much the same setup as a spiderling. You want to give it about a couple of centimeters of substrate. You don't want to fill it too much, because the spider is crazy fast, and if you wet them, you will probably annoy them and they're going to escape on you. And trust me, this spider actually got out a few times, and I was lucky enough to find it. So pretty much you don't really need decor. Just make sure that you have a lot of substrate to burrow because it's an obligate burrower. And something I really about. So for a juvenile, let's say about an inch and a half to about 2.5 inches, give them a deli cup like this and make sure to fill it with a couple centimeters of substrate. Again, either eco-earth or inorganic potting soil, and let it burrow. And that's pretty much all you need because they're not going to really appreciate decor since 99% of their lives they're going to spend underneath their ground. That's how they're happy. Now, for an adult, if you want to use glass enclosures, 5 gallon will probably be the max I'd go because they're not very big species. If you want to use 6-liter shoebox enclosures, make sure it's about halfway filled with substrate. So I will show you one. This is Isabel tank, my Ornithoctonus. So make sure that the substrate level is about here. And if you want to use these large critter keepers, I probably strongly recommend that because it's much more higher than this. This is my skeleton tank, and pretty much that's pretty much how you would want to set up your Thailand fringe. Substrate up to here and a burrow. So this is her setup. I don't know if you can see it, a little cork bark on its side with a lot of substrate. She's going to burrow just right in, and a little water dish. And that's pretty much all you need to know about enclosures. Alright, now for care requirements concerning temperature and humidity. Well, humidity I told you about, keep them around 80 to 90%, but you can keep them at 75%. So you don't really need to know those numbers, just making sure that your bottom layers of your substrate is kind of moist. And you do that by soaking the substrate, allowing the droplets of water to hit the bottom layer. And once you do that, you just stop. You wait a couple of days, let it get dry a bit, and then you keep repeating the process. I like doing that because it's least stressful on the spider, and you'll get more out of your buck for humidity than simply going like every day, because you're going to be doing that a long time, and especially for me when I have a collection of 166 spiders. Temperatures, they do well at room temperature. You don't have to keep them like 80 to 85 F. You don't need heat mats. You don't need heat lamps. I don't like them because they create hot spots and they have a nasty habit of drying out the substrate, and especially crucial for this species since they need high humidity. So as you've seen in my videos, I use this twin ceramic home heater that I usually leave on whenever it gets cold outside. So right now my room, it's about, I would say, a good 74 Fahrenheit, and I like to keep it that temperature. In the nighttime I keep it a little cooler with the fan on, and it's fine. You don't really need to keep them any warmer. So just make sure, guys, if you're in Canada like me, where winters, like tomorrow, I kid you not, it's going to be minus 24 degrees Celsius or minus 7. Don't open up the window during your sleepy time and freezing all those spiders. They won't like that. Now for temperament. Well, what can I say? Old worlds are very nasty. They have potent venom, and they are crazy fast. No different than the cobalt blue, then the Thailand fringe shows exactly the same. A little bit shy, but if you do manage to corner it, they get nasty. So guys, be careful when you're dealing with this spider. It can be a nasty beast. Now about breeding. I don't have any information about it, but I found this link that I'll link to the video description that explains breeding. Breeding can be a little bit difficult, but it's very typical of Pseudocopacis lividus mating, the cobalt blue. Now, the female can get rather aggressive because, as of course, the female spends most of the time in her burrow, and once she sees that someone's coming into her burrow, that's where she gets very nasty. So make sure, like I said in Mythbuster video 40, the process of mating, make sure your spider is at least 4 to 6 weeks fresh out of their molt, making sure that your female is well fed before you attempt to mate, because you don't want to risk your male, and losing a male completely sucks. And introduce the male into the female's enclosure and supervise the mating. The mating should last anywhere between 5 to 20 minutes, not a couple of days like the green bottle blue or the ornamentals, the pokies. And babies, I don't really have a set number, generally around 100 to about 200 eggs. Now, for overall recommendations about the species, I really love them. And you know, it's such a shame that these species are not as common as the cobalt blue is. But now, I believe now they're starting to get a little bit more popular, and that's a good thing. So, is it a must-have in your collection? I like to think so. It's a really nice species, but if you're starting out tarantulas, I probably would suggest not looking at the species right away, because they're mean and fast and very defensive, multi-biters and potent venom. A little bit dangerous combination to have for someone that is just starting out, but if you have done experience with the cobalt blue, I'd say go for the species, go for any of the Chelobrachy species. You're going to have a lovely time with these species and dealing with them. That's what I like about them. They're really cool, they're really colorful. They're not as pretty as the cobalt blue, but they're pretty in their own right. The one thing I really don't like about this species is the pet hole, and you don't really get to see it very much. And once the species, well, mine gets a bit older and I start to rehouse her into her permanent enclosure, which is going to be very similar to this setup, I ain't going to see her much. So anyways, guys, I want to thank you for watching. Make sure to hit the subscribe button if you love watching these videos. I'll still continue to make more. And also, there's a new feature. Not only do you have to subscribe, if you want to get notified by my videos, click the bell next to the subscribe button. So that way, the instant I upload a video, you'll know about it. Alright guys, so I'll see you next time. I'll either make the rehouse video, or I'm going to go on my PS3 to play some Silent Hill Homecoming videos. Enjoy that. Thanks for watching.